Now it's time for the first part of our new Hard Talk series. BBC WM has been speaking to EDL, English Defence League spokesman for the West Midlands, Guramit Singh, whose controversial speeches at the EDL rallies have attracted hundreds of thousands of hits on YouTube. He also attended the Dudley Mosque protests last April, which were marred by violence and saw 9 arrests. Here's the first part of the special Hard Talk interview with Guramit Singh, and he's with our special correspondent, of course, Steve Dyson.
Hard Talk with Steve Dyson on BBC WM.
Welcome to Hard Talk with Steve Dyson. Joining me today is Guramit Singh. Guramit is one of the national spokesmen for the English Defence League, and he's based here in the Midlands. I know that one of the things of the English Defence League, one of the things which it strongly talks about on its website is law and order and support for the forces, which I guess must include the police.
Oh, yeah.
And let me just read to you what Assistant Chief Constable Sharon Rowe of West Midlands Police said about the demonstrations in the Midlands. Her comment, which was widely reported at the time, was really there was no intent to protest. I think they knew that the community was very much against them coming here, which potentially would generate violence. Would you say that you and other members of the EDL were actually after a violent reaction?
No, we weren't at all. We were there to demonstrate against a super mosque that were being built, that members of the Dudley community had gathered thousands and thousands and thousands of signatures to oppose, and still yet no reaction from the local community, no reaction from the government. They just ignored, just to appease the Muslims in the area. We were there to oppose this super mosque, and that's precisely what we were doing. Now, every single demonstration I've done all around the country has been peaceful. There haven't been many problems. We've had minor arrests here and there, but Dudley was an exception. You can see how the police did not facilitate us in any way, and by that you got a negative demonstration and there was trouble on both parts.
So in Birmingham, and in Dudley in particular where you were involved, what do you think caused the violent demonstrations that were not going on around the country? What is it about the West Midlands that caused that?
The logistics. It's the constabulary's fault. That's precisely whose fault it was. When it came to West Midlands and organising the demonstration there, like I said, I organised the Dudley ones there, and it was the constabulary. They wouldn't facilitate anything at all. The logistics of the demonstration weren't in place, so the whole demonstration was going to crumble and fall. And I told them this when signing the memorandum of understanding. I said, this is a complete shambles what we have here. I mean, our stewards worked so hard to pull that demonstration out of the hat.
Just to remind ourselves, that was in sort of the back end of 2010, wasn't it, the Dudley demonstration?
Yeah, around about that. Well, summertime, really. It was summertime 2010.
Yeah, about 9-10 months ago.
Yeah. And because the logistics weren't in place, the whole thing crumbled and it went down to its knees. And the constabulary knew this. I told them about this. I've had experience from event organising for 4,000 or 5,000 people in my life. That was my first business, event organising. And now I've been organising these demonstrations, and I think I've got a bloody good idea of how to run them and how to put them together and how to make it work on the day and make sure it's a safe, secure day for members of the English Defence League, for the public and for the constabulary. That's my main goal at the end of the day. My initiative is to make it a calm, peaceful day for everyone. Now, when the constabularies work with me, like I've been working quite a lot with Lancashire Constabulary recently, all around the country, when they work with me and we come to a good agreement, an amicable agreement between the pair of us, then the demonstrations always work. But West Midlands was a one-off because West Midlands' constabulary refused to facilitate the English Defence League.
When you say refuse, what did they refuse?
Everything. Number one, they put the ban in. They imposed a ban on us. Now, as we see, you can look at the statistics. We've got it through the Freedom of Information Act all over the country. When you look at the statistics to it, when you ban our marches, basically you're taking away a key element of the logistics to basically make the procession and the day a peaceful day. You can't just have people turning up from all over the country, expect them to meet at a meeting point, and then get to a static demonstration point without marching there. So then you need to start putting them back into coaches. Then the coaches get delayed. This is precisely what happened in West Midlands. Then the coaches don't get to the demonstration point, and then people get antagonised because they've been travelling all day. And this is precisely what happened in West Midlands. They would not facilitate anything, and they knew that if they did not allow the march, and they had our coaches on a time limit where basically if people weren't on the coaches and leaving a certain destination to the static demonstration point on time, they knew that they wouldn't get there, and they knew it would cause upheaval. To tell you the truth, they predicted it. They knew it. I sat there with them. I told them all about it, but they still refused to listen to me. So they refused to facilitate what we needed, the key elements we needed to pull off a successful demonstration.
Guramit, you know the West Midlands is quite a rich cultural mix.
Yeah.
There's hundreds of thousands of Muslims, British-born Muslims, many of them living in Birmingham and the Black Country. Dudley itself, where the demonstration was, a very, very rich mix of not only Sikhs and Muslims, but also Hindus. The police would say, in their defence, that they were quite strict about the march and quite strict about imposing a ban because they felt that the presence of the English Defence League marching would cause much greater violence. Would you not say that you understood that kind of that kind of thinking?
No, I can't. I think it's a complete myth. They're just coming up with an excuse as anything to harm our demonstrations on the day. It doesn't matter if we go to an area where there's a high Muslim population or a Sikh population or Hindu or Christian or Catholic, whatever. I'm not bothered about that. This has got nothing to do about race. We're here to come in to demonstrate against a totalitarian ideology, which is militant Islam, which is fundamental Islam. That's what we're here to demonstrate against. They use these excuses all the time to basically put these bans and impose certain regulations onto our demonstrations, but we're not here to march against any race. We're here to march against an ideology that wants to see us wiped out, an ideology that wants to see you out of a job because Islam doesn't believe in free press. And so this is precisely what we're here for, and to use that as an excuse is just absolutely ridiculous.
OK, well, let's just talk about the Dudley protest in particular, because I know that was the first time you sort of became quite well known in the West Midlands. Yeah. The Dudley protests were in April and July 2010, yeah. And some reports reveal that they were quite derogatory towards the Muslim community. Is that the case?
In what way?
Well, they were talking about a proposed mosque that you said in your speech was the size of 3 football pitches with minarets built to such a height that they impose on a large scale of Dudley. Yeah. That's quite a factual statement from your view. Yeah. But you added that not only will this eyesore pose a visual threat for the people of Dudley, it has the potential to threaten their lives as well.
100%.
It has the common attributes for being a breeding ground for radical Muslims.
100%. 100%.
So what was your thinking behind that?
I agree with that 100%.
When there's tens of thousands of Muslims in that area, do you not think they would be offended by that kind of language?
I'll tell you where I came to this conclusion from, okay? You have the Quran, you have the Hadith, you have the Surah and the Sunnah. These are Islamic scripture. All right? I've studied these scripture. I've based my conclusions on what they said. I've read the translations that mainly Yusuf Ali's translation of the Quran. Now, when you have these scriptures in an institute, in a building, being taught on a daily basis, how can you not tell me that there is not going to be hatred or some sort of terrorism being taught in that building?
Guramit, again, some critics would say, hold on a minute, most religions have very historic scripts, which can, if taken literally, sound quite violent. I might mention the Old Testament and the ways that is preached in some Christian churches around the world. People like yourselves aren't stopping churches from being built. In Dudley in July 2010, as a result of the protests and the counter-protests, some people assigned to the EDL protest appeared to attack a Hindu temple, as well as a number of shops, restaurants and cars and homes. Now, I know you talked about the reasons for disorder in your mind and the fact that perhaps the police exacerbated that in your mind. But do you regret that a Hindu temple was attacked, as well as shops and restaurants and cars and homes?
OK, number one, a Hindu temple wasn't attacked by English Defence League demonstrators. And you may not take my word for that, but what I will give you right now, if you'd like, is a phone number for our contact at the Metropolitan Police at Scotland Yard. He told us the intelligence showed a couple of local yobs who weren't part of our demonstration and were going out and acting on their own behalf. They had nothing to do with the English Defence League.
Do you think that can be a problem sometimes, people thinking, yeah, I'll go to the EDL march, even though they're not members?
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Do you not think that you kind of rile those people and provoke them?
100%. And talking about this situation, talking about this issue right now, this is a prime example of what happened in Dudley. 100%. People think EDL haven't got a clue what it's about. They're probably just going on a rumour that they've heard recently, and then they join along and they come along and they think it's all about causing trouble, but it's not.
Do you not have any responsibility for that as an organisation?
You know what? I mean, some people would sit here and say, yeah, it's not my fault. But you know what? If you're going to blame anyone, go on, blame it on me. The blame's got to be put somewhere, because the more we talk about it and pass the buck, we're not going to come up with a solution with it. If the English Defence League could have thought to themselves when they first started, I mean, nobody could have predicted this. You start an organisation, an anti-racy and anti-Nazi organisation, then all of a sudden you've got Nazis getting involved. I mean, who could think of that? It's like opening up a vegetarian burger bar and you've got a queue full of people wanting a cheeseburger. Who you can't predict it, you know what I mean? But maybe if we could go back in time, we could put some sort of steps in place, some sort of procedures in place, so this couldn't happen, a better vetting scheme or something. But all we can do now is just make sure it doesn't happen again in the future, and we have been dealing with it.
And you'll hear the second part of that.